おはようございます。
In the 1990s, the Japanese film industry was in decline. The rise of television and the introduction of VCRs in the 1980s offered convenient at-home entertainment, reducing cinema attendance dramatically. The studio system, which had supported directors like Akira Kurosawa and Yasujiro Ozu during the 1950s golden age, was crumbling. Major Japanese studios like Toho and Toei barely stayed afloat. And the bursting of the economic bubble in the early 1990s didn't help matters. The Japanese studio system could no longer survive by spending large amounts of money on expensive blockbusters like Godzilla. It was under these unique economic circumstances that V cinema was born. Characterized by its low budgets, nearly non-existent censorship, and straight-to-video format, V cinema became a cultural phenomenon in 1990s Japan, revitalizing the film industry by fostering bold, genre-driven storytelling and launching the careers of many influential filmmakers that are still famous to this day. There were several filmmakers that came to prominence during the era of V cinema, filmmakers such as Takashi Miike, Shinya Tsukamoto, and Kiyoshi Kurosawa, to name a few. Filmmakers that are known and recognized today as some of the best in their class. Tonight, I'm going to talk about a film from one of them. Takashi Miike was once called the rabid dog of Japanese cinema. He's been compared to Western filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino and David Lynch. And if you watch any of his films, you will definitely see why. In 1996, Miike wrote and directed a movie that would become his first international hit. The movie we'll be covering tonight. The film begins with a dreamlike, slow-motion sequence of a child innocently playing catch with his older brother. This is Ricky Fudo. And this is his brother, Ryu. Ryu gets a call from a man known only as the Informant, and then this happens. Did you hear that? That's the sound of great filmmaking. Sound is such an important part of film. The footsteps sound so ominous and echoey. It's a prime example of what we call in the business showing, not telling. We know everything we need to know about these guys just from hearing their footsteps. What do we know? We know these guys are up to no good. And then this happens.
Yama. Kawa.
I gotta hand it to these guys. They're very good at their job. That wasn't a double tap or a triple tap. That was a too many taps to count. I'd like to freeze frame for a second and just admire this beautiful shot. Look at all those shells, my god. Now it should be obvious at this point that these two men are assassins. And in case you can't already tell, they really want to connect the informant to God's Wi-Fi. I'm sure you're probably wondering what's going on. Well, Ryu is part of a criminal syndicate that calls themselves the Kyushu Neo clan. And the unnamed assassins belong to their rivals, the Yashagumi clan. And because Ryu's informant was taken out, he is naturally very angry. This handsome man is Daigen Noma. He is a 5th generation boss of the Yasha clan, and he is about to get some bad news. You see, Ryu didn't take too kindly to the Yasha clan turning his informant into bloody chunks, so he sent them a little package.
Not a good time to lose one's head.
Little aside here, Daigen is played by the legendary Japanese actor Riki Takeuchi, and if you continue to watch this channel, you will definitely see him many more times in many more movies. Moving on. This is Iwa, father of Riki and Ryu, and he is in trouble. You see, Ryu did a whoopsie. His retaliation against those two assassins was not sanctioned by the bosses, and now the Yasha clan is calling for a full-scale war with the Neo. But it's cool. Iwa basically tells the bosses, "I got you, fam. No problem. I'll handle it." How does he handle it? With ruthless efficiency. I want to briefly touch on the character of Iwa Fudo. He is the head and patriarch of the Fudoh family. He's also a detestable, vile, psychopathic nutjob who has no compassion for anyone or anything. Anything but the Yakuza, that is. He pretty much has no redeemable qualities at all, and here's a scene that very accurately sums him up as a character. These four prehistoric gentlemen are the Council, a governing body that presides over the Neo clan, and they are currently in the process of scolding Iwa. They're reminding him that he made a promise to handle his disobedient son, and they don't think he has the guts to actually do it. And this is his response.
That's not the way to get ahead in life.
I think you see what I mean now. Iwa has just brutally and coldly unalived his own son, and not only does he seem proud of what he's done, he seems jovial. If it wasn't made clear before, he is the villain of the story. We flash forward 10 years later, and Riki-kun is all grown up and looking handsome. Looks like he could be a runner-up to join BTS if they're ever looking for new members. Riki-kun reminds his father that it's the 10th anniversary of the day he brutally unalived his only brother, to which his father replies in an almost flippant and mocking way, "Oh, is it? I forgot. Ain't that a bitch? Anyway, see you later, turd." I mean, that's not the exact translation, but it's pretty close to what he actually says. Little aside here, the only copy of Fudoh I could get my hands on has no subtitles or English dubs, so I'll have to translate myself. I've seen this movie so many times, I pretty much have the dialogue memorized, and I could always do some gag dub jokes if anyone's interested in that. Then we get a nice little title sequence where we're introduced to Ryuji Komoku, one of the 4 executive council members of the Kyushu Neo clan. Ryuji is enjoying some nice batting cage action, but unfortunately for him, his Sunday fun day is interrupted by 2 adorable little scamps. I know what you must be thinking. You must be thinking, did that just happen? I know, because when I first saw this movie, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think any American movie watcher would react that way to seeing adorable little Japanese youngsters gunning down a bunch of grown men in cold blood. But as I said before, in the era of V-cinema, there really was no censorship in the movie business. I don't think I need to tell you guys that this kind of thing would never fly in America. Although on a side note, I personally think it adds an element of uniqueness and grit that you don't see in many other films, especially Western films. Is it horrifying? Yeah, but I mean, it's a gangster movie. What else were you expecting? That's one down. Moving on. Cut to this old fart. This is Akira Jikoku, another one of the 4 executive council members of the Kyushu clan. And believe me when I tell you, he is about to have a very bad day. Let's watch.
いらっしゃいませ。コーヒーサービスです。どうぞ。ありがとう。
おい。おい。どうしたおい。おい。大丈夫かおい。おい。おい。どこ行った。おい。
Now, unfortunately, I can't show you what happens next. YouTube would have a conniption fit. But I can describe it while showing you some pretty stills. Basically, Jikoku-san has been poisoned. I have no idea what kind of poison. Whatever kind of poison makes a person spray B positive out of their eyes, mouth, and neck and crap out all their insides. He basically explodes all over the car, slowly and painfully. And there's no way in hell I can show you any of that. But I will show you the aftermath. It's a nasty little sequence that is very Miike-esque, if that's a word. And that's 2 down. And now we're introduced to one of my personal favorite characters in the whole movie. Aizone. Aizone is basically a big, psychotic, brutish giant. He's like a Japanese mountain from Game of Thrones. He basically does what he wants, steals what he wants, who he wants, and if anyone gets in his way, well, I'm sure you can use your imagination. He's pretty freaking awesome. Surprisingly, Ricky is an honor student. A good egg and a good boy. Kind of. I'm very curious if there are any viewers out there who went to high school in Japan in the 90s. Did stuff like this actually happen? It kind of seems like the answer is yes, but I'd like confirmation. Anyway, Teacher of the Year here may look and act very tough, but when he and Ricky are in a room alone together, we see that Ricky may not be the good boy he seems to be. You see, Ricky is a chip off the old block. He's starting his own little crime syndicate right there at his own high school, A+ for extracurricular activities. And Mr. English Teacher here is one of his best customers. Although in this particular instance, he cannot pay back his debt in full. A little later on, we'll find out what happens to people who don't settle their debts properly with Ricky-kun. And now comes the infamous scene that this movie is probably most famous for. As a matter of fact, if you've heard of this movie at all, it's probably because of this scene. However, if you know what's about to happen, then you know I can't show any of it. This is Miike. Miike is an assassin. She's also an exotic dancer. And Miike is very entrepreneurial in the fact that she has managed to successfully combine the 2 professions. How, you ask? She basically uses this blowgun to pop some balloons. How does she pop them? I'm sure you can use your imagination. And unfortunately for this dude here, she occasionally misses. Fun fact, it is not actually possible to shoot darts out of your hoo-ha with enough force to pierce through a human skull. I have an uncle who's a doctor, and I actually asked him if this was possible. He laughed and said no, there is no possible way for a woman to generate enough force in her lady parts to do that, so. And that's 3 down. You're probably sensing a pattern by now. This dead guy was Tenkai Zocho, another one of the 4 executive council members of the Neo group. Real quick, I'd just like to say, I always admire how creative Miike-san is with his methods of assassination. This is Toko, another assassin, and she's just crossed number 4 off the list. Of course, the Neo clan understandably calls an emergency meeting. 4 of their executive council members have just been brutally snuffed out, and of course they need to discuss what to do about it. And spoiler alert, Iwa-san doesn't care about this at all. He's over the moon. The council he shared power with is gone, so that means he no longer needs to share said power. He's celebrating. And then we get a not-so-secretive twist in the story. Riki-kun loved his brother very much, and when he saw his father brutally delete his beloved brother, he secretly swore revenge. It is Riki who is behind the slayings of the executive council members, Riki who is trying to secretly dismantle the Kyushu Neo clan, and he won't stop until his own father stops breathing. Cut to a scene where we get a better look at Riki's operation. We see his lieutenants, his assassins. We get a nice little montage of his elementary school-aged assassin training camp. I told you, man. This movie gets very hardcore, and I love it. We also get another infamous scene. A scene of some innocent kids playing soccer with what appears to be a strange-looking white soccer ball. Only it's not a ball at all.
It's a shame he wasn't more headstrong.
Hopefully Riki's school can find a replacement for their English teacher quickly. I hear those positions can be hard to fill. Anyway, the kids want Aizune to join them in playing, and then this happens. Anyway, throughout the film, Aizune has been having run-ins with Riki here and there, and he's intrigued. Aizune is a man who likes to do what he wants, so naturally he is intrigued by Riki's apparent position of power. And Riki, of course, realizes that a man of Aizune's monstrous size and psychotic temperament could definitely be of use to him. So they forge an alliance. And Riki doesn't waste any time putting Aizune to work, because right away we cut to Riki along with his top lieutenants storming the headquarters of the Kyushu clan, which is actually in a graveyard, something I think adds a nice touch. Anyway, Riki gets some static from the guards, to which he replies, "Hey guys, no problems here, I'm just here to pay respects to my brother on the anniversary of his death." And they let him in, without a fuss. And then Aizune just starts beating them all up. I don't think I understand that. I mean, they let you guys in, why are you hurting them? I don't know. Then we get a little fight sequence, which is pretty cool. We get to see Aizune kick some tiny man ass. It's a nice little sequence, punctuated with some tiny guys being thrown all over the place. And now we come to the Shibata twins, 2 guys I've never really mentioned until now, and that's because they're kind of forgettable. Their position in the Neo clan isn't really made all that clear, but it seems as though they have some kind of familial connection to ancient samurai bloodlines or some such. I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like they represent the legitimacy of the Neo clan, and Riki taking them out is pretty much a death sentence for their clan. Anyway, Riki manages to unceremoniously cut down the Shibata twins, taking the scoreboard to 6-0. And then we're introduced to Miss Minoru, the new English teacher, and I do not think they would let her wear that outfit to her first day of high school. I really don't, but whatever. And her introduction is intercut with a meeting between Iwao and Noma-san. This scene is kind of funny because Iwao is like, "Well, everyone's dead, Kyushu is mine now." And Noma is like, dude, don't you think it's kind of weird that all your partners were brutally Maybe you should figure out what happened and who did it. This scene kind of illustrates that Iwao really isn't all that smart, or he doesn't seem to be, because he's like, wow, you're right, whoever killed my partners might try to come and kill me next. It's like, dude, haven't you already thought of this yet? Anyway. This scene is kind of funny because Miss Minoru is an English teacher, and she's there to teach them English. And then we get this exchange.
It's my class. Listen to me. Okay?
Sorry, but I'm just calling now. It doesn't matter. Please go ahead.
It seems like the filmmakers wanted to show that Ricky speaks very good English, but as an English speaker myself, I'd say they failed in that respect. Perhaps they didn't have a competent English-speaking coordinator on set. I just thought that was amusing.
I'm Jones Butthole.
This scene here is bonkers. Nothing crazy extreme happens. It's basically just Miike and Ricky having a little conversation where Ricky tells her that he believes Noma and the Yasha clan are working with North Korea to start a war between them and America. Holy balls. That's crazy. FYI, there are a fair few scenes of intimacy in this movie that I cannot even begin to show or even talk about. But if you'd like to see them, buy the movie. It's definitely worth it. It just went to Blu-ray not too long ago. Moving on. Cut to the next day, and Ricky gets a home visit from Miss Minoru. Spoiler alert, she is not all that she seems. We will find out much more later. Cut to these adorable little scamps that look like they walked right out of a Gamera movie. Ricky wants Noma taken out as soon as possible, so he sent his best, men to do the job right. Unfortunately, they are not as effective as they were last time. And what happens next is just a bit horrifying. Little aside here, I watch a YouTuber by the name of Brandon Tenold, and he hates little kids in kaiju movies. He calls them Kennies, I'm not sure why, and he always wishes they would die horribly. Well, Brandon, this scene is for you. So now things get dicey. Both Noma and Iwao apparently know that Ricky is the thorn in both their sides. And Noma basically indicates to Iwao that none of their plans can move forward until Ricky has been eliminated. And then we're introduced to Gon. He's very unassuming, isn't he? Doesn't look very dangerous at all. But I assure you, Gon is extremely dangerous. And now he's making kimchi. That will become relevant in a bit. You see, Gon is half Korean, half Japanese. He's also the bastard son of Iwa Fudo. I'm sure you can see where this is going. And now we get a bombshell. Iwa basically tells Gon that he has been loyal to the Yasha clan this whole time, and he has been waiting for the right opportunity to join them. He also tells him to eliminate Ricky, to which Gon enthusiastically agrees. And then this happens. This is a rather masterfully written scene, in my opinion. It doesn't say much, but it implies a lot. You see, Gon is half Korean, and Koreans are a notoriously marginalized group in Japan. As a Korean, Gon would be known as hafu, a derogatory word for someone who is of mixed race. And Iwa, being the gigantic prick that he is, he would definitely have no qualms about abandoning a son for being hafu. And naturally, Gon is desperate to win his father's approval by any means necessary, including killing his own half-brother. He's also fiercely defensive of his Korean heritage, so much so that he beats the crap out of the chef for making his kimchi with quote-unquote Japanese flavors. Cut to Aizune, looking happy and smiling. And then we get this. Fun fact, crows are a very bad omen in Japan, known as karasu. They are often associated with death and misfortune, which makes for a very cool segue into what happens next. Poor Aizune. He died as he lived, exploding. I mean, he was always walking out of whorehouses whenever we saw him. Cut to Gon posing as the school's new gym teacher. That right there. That's the moment I would have shot him in the face. I love how Toko gets the drop on him here. She's a smart cookie, however, I am not too happy about the fact that he kills her anyway. How does that work? I don't know. But rest in peace, Toko. The next morning, they have a memorial announcement for Toko. Naturally, pretty much everyone at school is of the mind that she took her own life. Everyone except Ricky. And of course, to add insult to injury, Gon comes to interrupt Ricky's moment of solitude, and pretend to pay his respects to the girl he himself brutally murdered. We get a little voiceover of Ricky telling Miike to pretend not to be too sad, just act normal, and go back to her daily routine of being a high school student by day, stripper by night. However, Miike is surprised at her night job by an unexpected visitor. Miss Minoru wants to know more about Ricky and his group, so she decides to interrogate Miike. How does she do that? By, showering? Now, there are many scenes of intimacy in this movie that I obviously can't show. For example, I can't really show you this entire next scene because of certain revelations. One, we find out that Miss Minoru is secretly associated with the Yakuza. In what way, we don't know. Yet. And two, we find out Miike is a hermaphrodite. How do we find that out? Very graphically. Again, if you'd like to see it, buy the movie. It's definitely worth your money. Moving on. This is an interesting and poignant scene where Ricky seemingly starts to realize that the whole gangster thing ain't a game, and when people die, it makes him feel some type of way. Which is a nice touch, I think. Then Miike is surprised at her night job once again by another unexpected visitor. Only this time, the visitor is not there to interrogate her. Those of you who are very fond of Miike might want to look away. For those of you who guessed that ain't water, your instincts were correct. Now, of course, there's no way in hell Miike-san had the budget to show the acid melting Miike's skin off, but we do get a scene of Ricky visiting her in the hospital. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Naturally, Ricky is livid, and he's going to get some revenge. Or so he thinks. And guess what? Aizune is alive. Yay! You guys didn't think a little thing like a car bomb would stop the Japanese mountain, did you? Come on. Cut to Ricky having a little conversation with Gon. We get a couple of revelations here. One, Ricky finds out Gon is his brother. And two, we find out that Gon was some kind of Korean super soldier or something. Also, if you were hoping that Ricky holds his own in this fight, well, prepare to be disappointed. Oh, and Gon has some kind of steel shoes. Because of course he does. That was pretty cool. Let's see it again. Yeah, like I said, this fight is a bit one-sided. But Ricky's not out of the fight just yet. Let's see how round 2 goes, Johnny. Yeah, round 2's not going so good. Lucky thing for Ricky, this is a tag team match. Only Gon doesn't know it. This is probably the best shot in the whole movie. Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, where did Gondo-sensei go? He must have taken the bullet train. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Moving on. Now we get a secret, not-so-secret revelation. Turns out Minoru-sensei is actually an undercover Yakuza who was actually sent to take out Ricky, but she was in love with his brother and couldn't do it. So she decided to help Ricky rather than kill him. So I guess that wraps everything up in a nice, neat little package. Oh wait, I forgot. Ricky's father is still alive and totally plans on murdering him tonight. Let's see how that plays out. Yeah, I bet you didn't think Ricky would have a weird robot neck blocking blocker thing. You know what, I have some questions. What if Iwa just stabbed Ricky? Like, what was your plan for that, Ricky? Like, what if he just immediately after having his slice blocked, like, what if he immediately went to stab him? You know what, it doesn't matter. Let's just move on. Now Ricky basically just tells him, "You'll never kill another one of your sons again, you son of a bitch." To which his father replies, "Yeah, I will, dumbass." Well, that was unexpected. Just kidding. Ricky had a bulletproof vest. You knew it was coming. And now it's time to finish this shit, you old bastard. And that's pretty much all she wrote. We do get a scene setting up a sequel, which makes sense since there were 2 sequels. I've never actually seen them. Miike didn't direct either of them, and from what I hear, they're nothing to write home about. Basically just cash-ins. Also, they were never released outside of Japan. I'm sure you can get your hands on a copy, and if anyone does, let me know if they're worth covering. But that was Fudoh, the New Generation. It's violent, wild, crazy, sexy, untamed, and an absolute blast from start to finish. The term banger was invented for films like this. And that about does it. If you enjoyed what you saw here tonight, leave a like and a comment, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys at the video store.
やるぞ. Do you know how scary battles can be? No, but I will destroy all your battles!